The genesis of this? I know you wanted to go back to your high school gym last year. COVID scheduling issues. How was this all sorted out?
I guess I need to give credit to Coach Ursuline at Purdue, and then the current Humboldt High School coach, Coach Beeman. They actually approached me about it. It's probably been close to 2 years ago now about what I thought about it, and I thought immediately it was a good idea. We had it scheduled last December, and obviously COVID killed it. So here we are, 3 days out. But I think it's a great idea. The thing about Humboldt, growing up at Humboldt, is that it's a very, very sports-minded town, and it doesn't matter what sport. I just remember growing up that they followed everything. It wasn't just football, basketball, wrestling. It was golf. It was tennis. It was whatever was going on at that particular time. So they've really embraced it. From even the minute I got hired here, Humboldt's done something every summer for us as a regional training center, and so the interest is off the charts. It sold out in one day, so they're going to have a lot of people crammed at Humboldt High School.
Not just, you mentioned all the sports. Harclaws from there, right?
Yep.
Who else? Give me some of the greats, maybe.
Well, if you're really a wrestling junkie, back in the 1900s, there was a guy named Frank Gotts. It was the very first world champion wrestler. It was kind of more known, the style was what they called catch and catch can. So it's a little different style, but growing up at Humboldt, you saw Frank Gotch all over the place. There's a huge statue in Humboldt of Frank Gotch, and he was a worldwide known wrestler. And there's just been a lot of sports figures. A couple guys. There was a guy named Keith Abens that wrestled at Iowa State back in the day. That was, I think, a 3-time All-American and a Big 8 champ. That was from Humboldt that I grew up watching and idolized. So there's a lot of wrestling history. Bruce Reimers played football at Iowa State, was all Big 8, and then played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was a teammate of mine. So there's a lot of sports figures from Humboldt.
What does it mean to be heading back there for you, and how often do you get back?
Well, I get back quite a bit now that I got hired here. I don't have a lot of family there anymore, but a lot of friends, and like I said, they've done some good stuff for us and helping our program. So between coordinating events and just planning events and getting back for RVTV and everything that Humboldt brings, I've been back quite a bit. So it'll be a fun night.
I guess then, what does it mean to you to have somebody like Purdue as your opponent? In Humboldt, that kind of program being a ranked opponent.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for us because Tony Ursuline has done a great job building that program. I think he might be, I'm guessing, and I might be really off, but I think it's like his 6th or 7th year. So, he's got Purdue in the top 15. So, how often does small town Northwest Iowa get 2 top 15 programs in the nation? And I don't think anybody else has got 2 Division I head wrestling coaches that wrestle at the same high school of a town of less than 5,000 people. So it'll be buzzing.
What are you looking for from your guys as they take another step against Purdue?
Well, it's just another opportunity to get out there and wrestle quality team, quality individuals. There's a lot of matchups that are big, that are ranked matchups, and it's just a test. It's fun. If you're a college kid and you sign up for wrestling, this is the environment you want. It seats 1,500 people, and there'll probably be 1,700 people in there. So I just got them in trouble. But it's going to be a really, you go off the mat, they'll probably push you right back on the mat. That kind of environment. So I think as a competitor, it's got to be just a really fun thing.
How exciting is it for you to be able to take your team back to where you grew up and where you used to wrestle as a high schooler?
Well, I have a lot of good memories of that gymnasium growing up as a kid, watching basketball games, watching wrestling matches. Wrestling matches back when I was a kid growing up were full. I remember sitting in the balcony, and I remember sitting next to the band and thinking how cool it would be someday to run out there as a high school wrestler and wrestle in that environment. So it was just a great place to grow up, and it was just really well followed.
How old were you when you sat in the back? Probably every year, but can we peg an age to it? Like 5-year-old Kevin Dresser?
Probably a 6-year-old Kevin Dresser is when I kind of remember starting getting interested in wrestling. According to my mother, that's when we started showing up a lot. But my dad, who's deceased now, was a big sports fan and started bringing us to wrestling matches because Humboldt was pretty good way back in the day when we were kids, my brother and I. And so just Humboldt had a tradition. I think they were state champs when I was in elementary school, or state runner-ups. So they've had tradition for a while.
Wrestling's become really good at, finding some unique venues. Whether it be, uncommon ones. But
right.
Add to the allure. I know it's helped the sport, I think, outside of, wrestling gurus to just kind of see it on different stages?
Well, I think yes, you're right. I've seen him do it in baseball parks. I've seen him do it on ships. I've seen a lot of creative things. Wrestling people have been very creative to get our product out there. This is a natural because you're in Iowa and it's a high school program and a high school gymnasium. So I think anytime you can put your team in a packed environment with a lot of noise and a lot of pressure is a good thing.
What kind of week of practice did you see last week from Sam Schuyler?
Good. Sam keeps making progress. He's I think kind of trying to figure himself out a little bit and get some consistency. He's got a lot of tools. I think the biggest thing with Sam is just getting Sam to believe in Sam as much as we do as a coaching staff. So it's a completely new environment. It's a lot different than wrestling in Buffalo, New York, than the wrestling in the Iowa State duel. And so I think he's got to overcome a little bit of that, but that's a good stuff. And I think that's what he signed up for when he came here.
In what areas could you maybe want to see more consistency from him?
I think just believing in his offense and, kind of wrestling as hard as we see him wrestle in the room. I think sometimes I see him thinking out there, and usually when you're thinking in a wrestling match, you're in trouble. He just got to go.
Are there any specific matchups that you'll be looking forward to watching this weekend?
Well, on paper, 125 will be two guys that are ranked in the top 15 in the nation. 157, you got two guys that are ranked in the top 10, top 15 in the nation. I think 184, you got two guys that are ranked in the top 20 in the nation. That's just off the top of my head. So those are three pretty marquee matchups.
Will we see any major changes in the starting lineup?
That's a hard question right now. We have had, it's been a tough week for us, not just at Iowa State Wrestling, but Iowa State University. We got the flu going around like crazy, so we don't know. It's just touch and go. We got some guys that have been battling it, and every day we get a new text with a new guy that's going down, so we're going to have to piecemeal this together a little bit and put the best product we can out there, but we got to get through this flu season right here.
Back to Humboldt, the fans that'll be coming won't have to worry about weight. So is there a place they should go that is like a local legend?
Well, afterwards, there's a place down on Main Street. I better not start plugging too many because I'll get the ones that I don't plug mad. But there's a bunch of places on Main Street that throughout the dual meet are going to be tailgating previous, and there'll be post-match. I know we're going to bring our team out later on to downtown Humboldt afterwards for a meal and to get together with all the fans. But I think the tailgating starting at noon, and we don't even start wrestling until 5, so they'll be festive.
For sure.